Welcome to Beyond the Frame, a show by SOCA Global Outreach Office sharing the new, the now, and the necessary in a digest of thought-provoking news and tidbits from the global art world, with a particular focus on marginalized voices. I am your host, Gillian Rhodes, and we bring you news and stories centered around equity, inclusivity, and sustainability, exploring the places where art is urgent, political, and current, while reflecting on the complexities of today's world. Let's start with the news. The last few months of the year are the season for festivals, and in December some of the major art fairs and festivals wrapped up. There were a couple ones I wanted to touch on, starting with Frieze London. Not freeze as in burr, but Frieze. Frieze is one of the largest art fairs organized by the founders of the popular art magazine Frieze. It usually features around 160 galleries and exhibitions. Frieze London also features awards and commissions for artists. The Frieze Artist Award is one of them, which offers an emerging artist a platform to debut a large-scale commission on the occasion of Frieze London. This year's winner was Abbas Zahedi, a multidimensional artist who often creates social projects with collaborators and audiences. These also frequently involve spiritual rituals. Trained as a doctor originally, Zahedi's ancestors were ceremonial tea and drink makers in Iran. The work he produced for the award was an interactive structure made out of sustainable materials outside the actual tent of Frieze. The structure was meant to serve as an open mic area, but it was wired so that the sounds of people performing could be heard remotely by audiences inside the tent through headphones, creating a connection between the structure and the actual sounds. Another award of note was the Emerging Artist Prize, which went to a young Greek artist named Marina Xenophontos. Her practice involves reforming found objects that she combines with other constructions such as kinetic sculptures, light installations, digital avatars, and more. The prize allows her not just to exhibit at Frieze, but gives her support from the Camden Arts Center and an extensive program of talks and exhibitions, so it is meant to launch the career of the emerging artist. Aside from Frieze, the Vienna Biennale also wrapped for the year. Another one of the top art fairs, the Vienna Biennale runs a full 8 months during the year throughout Vienna and has been going on for 59 years. The Biennale has sections for art, architecture, dance, theater, and cinema, but the most famous of these is the art exhibition. The 2022 edition was called The Milk of Dreams and focused on 3 thematic areas in particular: the representation of bodies and their metamorphoses, the relationship between individuals and technologies, and the connection between bodies and the earth, all current trends in the art world. Apart from these large-scale visual art festivals, one smaller theater festival caught my eye, the Festival Quatre Chemins, or the Festival of Four Roads in French, which takes place in Haiti. 2022 was the 19th edition, and it features theater and performance art around Haitian culture. It also involves social commentary, and last year the program opened with a piece of performance art around the problem of malnourishment and hunger in the Haitian society. I was also interested in an article in White Hot magazine about the Manifesta Biennale, a 100-day event that happens in a different European city every year, with the aim of leaving behind positive social change through its activities. Like the Olympics, the structures that are created for the festival are meant to help the city they are made for. The 2022 edition took place in Pristina, which is the capital of Kosovo. Kosovo's complicated social history makes it very difficult for artists to travel or show their works internationally. So the festival represents a chance for them, although the author of the article did question if the development works meant to improve the city for the future, which are a mandatory part of each festival edition, were actually sustainable or just kind of there for show. In other news, the antics of certain climate activists have caused a lot of controversy and conversations, as first activists threw tomato soup on a Van Gogh painting and recently poured oil on a Gustav Klimt painting. Their aim is to draw attention to the climate crisis, and while I agree that is a necessary thing, I personally wonder if attacking art is a relevant or useful protest. I'd love to hear what people have to say about that. Are they right? Are they wrong? Do send in your comments. There has also been some controversy around the anonymous street artist known as Banksy. Recently, the artist took offense to the brand Guess using their artwork without permission and encouraged their followers to shoplift from the store in retaliation. But Banksy was apparently quite busy elsewhere in the world, as 7 new works attributed to the artist have appeared on different war-torn sites in Ukraine. Speaking of Ukraine, the art newspaper reported that Russian forces have been looting Ukraine's art. This is one aspect of war that is not usually discussed but is very common, as removing a country's cultural wealth and history is part of military tactics. The Germans, for example, in World War II confiscated and destroyed innumerable artworks throughout their conquest. Stepping away from the news for a minute, let's take a look at a couple of new trends I found in the art world. An article on artbasel.com noted how ceramics and ceramic artists are making a comeback in post-pandemic contemporary art, and shares numerous high-level galleries and museums which are opening exhibitions featuring artists working in ceramics. Ceramics have in the past been looked down upon for reasons unknown to me, but I suspect it has something to do with indigenous art forms and colonial ideals, like many things in the world. Art around inclusivity and sustainability is also a topic of many articles on the main art news websites. A recent artist profile in Frieze magazine featured deaf artist Christine Sun Kim, which also highlights the ableist tendencies of the art world. Reflecting many people's unconscious biases, the art industry as a whole doesn't generally feature or pay attention to disabled artists, or if they do, judging them on the basis of their disability rather than their art. Finally, I'm seeing lots and lots of multimedia, multidisciplinary work, often integrating technology and other digital means. That sometimes comes about in fascinating and creative ways. The Art Basel BMW Art Journey Award, for example, can take an artist almost anywhere in the world to do almost anything. The 2021 winner, Gillian created a piece about his native Martinique by using the welding robots at the BMW factory in Germany, along with original sheets of metal before they become cars, to create his work, turning the high-tech manufacturing process into something very different and beautiful. I'm sure I'll be talking more about these trends in future episodes, but let's move on to the featured artist portion, this month focusing on South African artist William Kentridge. I chose this artist for a few reasons. One is that his 40-plus year career is being celebrated by a huge new exhibition at the Royal Academy of Arts in London. Immersive is the name of the game these days in visual art, and this exhibition is as well. It includes many new works by Kentridge, who many call South Africa's most celebrated artist. He has 4-meter-wide tapestries, films, drawings, and much more. Again, like many artists now, Kentridge's work is multidisciplinary, but drawing is at the center of it. He often creates animated films through his drawings, but the interesting part of these is that he uses the same sheet of paper, erasing and redrawing over it. So as the animation progresses, the echoes of the first drawings remain. Kentridge has also been known to design stage productions and mechanized theater sets, so let's just say he works at large scales. Another cool thing in Kentridge's work is his use of alter egos and characters, which is something I'm personally interested in. Two characters in particular, the greedy capitalist Soho Eckstein and his counterpart, the sensitive and artistic Felix Titelbaum, have appeared in numerous films and drawings. Kentridge's background itself is quite fascinating. His parents were celebrated anti-apartheid lawyers, and his father even represented Nelson Mandela, as well as Desmond Tutu and Chief Albert Luthuli. Africa's colonial past and the negative effects of apartheid are often present as themes in Kentridge's artistic work. I'll include a few links to his work with the description, and I do encourage you to check it out. I find his work a little haunting and intriguing. We're reaching the end of this episode, so I'd like to wrap up with a few interesting tidbits in the news I found. First off, apparently, a Mondrian painting has been hung upside down for 75 years. At least some people think so. While we can't be absolutely sure as the artist is dead, analysis of the other pieces and trends in his work have led some people to claim that a Mondrian previously exhibited at MoMA in New York was upside down. Next up, a set of Japanese folk performing arts called Furyu Odori will be added to UNESCO's Intangible Heritage List. The origins of Furyu Odori date back to medieval Japan. It's a form of performing arts which features elaborate costumes and props and is accompanied by flutes and drums. The performances seek to drive away evil spirits and wish for a peaceful life, so definitely something we all need these days. The list of intangible cultural heritage is an effort by UNESCO to preserve important cultural practices that don't have a written history, often shared by performance or oral methods, and as such at risk of disappearing. Next, I found an interesting article in Frieze about a boom in artist-run spaces in Rome. So we think of Rome as a center of art and history, but as it turns out, it wasn't great for living artists. Over the course of the pandemic, more artists have been coming together to create their own spaces and support each other. They've been fairly successful, and I think the model is one that many places can benefit from. Finally, it turns out that those supposedly useless humanities degrees aren't so useless after all, and they're making a comeback. The University of Berkeley reports that more and more students are choosing to pursue degrees in the humanities. Turns out we live in a complex, confusing world, and studying something like philosophy actually helps to make sense of it. And that's what a lot of young people are looking for these days. I personally hope that that trend continues and expands. That's all for today from Beyond the Frame, presented by SOCA Global Outreach Office. See you next time.